Hi, I'm Lisa Ann Bear. Welcome to Enchantment, Yurt and Farm to Table. See the beautiful view behind me. I hope it doesn't distract you. So I have many guests that ask me for a cookbook, and that's just not how I cook. So I've decided to do videos. And today we'll be making, it's a creamy feta dip and crostini, and I use this on a wine tasting menu at one of our local venues. It's salty sweet when you add the honey and the pistachios, and crunchy. It goes perfectly with a wine tasting or an appetizer, and the way I box it up, it's an appetizer for two. And I use it in my farm to table experience when we do a wine tasting and we choose wine pairings and we visit farms and we harvest and we come back to this space and make a 4-course meal with wine pairings. And so the crostini box is, I have it all ready to go, and my guests get nourished after those tasting the wine and choosing the wine so that then we can go harvest, because you can't do that on an empty stomach. So before we begin, I'm certainly not Julia Childs, not exact, but I do love my wine. This is a beautiful rosé from Black Mesa Winery, and it pairs perfectly with the crostini. And it's summer. We're about to say goodbye to summer. The weather's changing. It's somewhat fall-like. Beautiful strawberries, peaches. It's fantastic. Okay, so first we need to get the oven ready to go. And so crostini, you want it crispy, so I cooked mine at 400 for about 8 minutes, depending on the bread. This is a local baguette from our local co-op, sourdough baguette. That going. So I cut about a half an inch. You want a bread that's going to get crispy. There's even a way to make crostini where you just leave it out, pre-cut it, leave it out, and it gets crispy and stale. That's not what I do. You can cut them on the bias too. I don't, because of the packaging that I use for my crostini boxes. When I cut it on the bias, it just doesn't fit in the little bags that I use, and I heat seal the bags, and it just doesn't work. Tried. So, get my trays ready. Parchment paper. In place. Brush a little more on. And then I line up my crostini. Some of them even turn out heart-shaped. Great. I have quite a few guests who come and spend their anniversary with me, which is awesome. And I've even had them ask me to make their anniversary dinner, which is always an honor. Okay, and sprinkle with olive oil. You can brush olive oil on each side. I used to do that, and honestly, just generously pouring it right over turns out just as well and takes less time. Not that I'm always in a hurry, but try to be judicious with my time so I can do other things like drink wine, you and friends. Okay, so get that going. So for the dip, it's super easy, and I'm a really big fan of recipes that call for 3 to 5 ingredients. That way you can really taste each ingredient, especially when you're using farm to table local food. You want to taste that freshness. And when you're wine pairing, gosh, that makes all the difference in the world. And wine tastes different, food tastes different when you pair them together. And so I think the less complex the meal, the better. Okay, so I have my food processor, and I've already put 2 cubes in here that I've made of olive oil, and I do believe my guest just arrived. So give me a minute and I'll be right with you. I'm back. My guests are all checked in, so I'm not exactly sure where I stopped. I think we were talking about olive oil and the basil. And so I froze. This is about, each cube is about a tablespoon of olive oil and about 4 leaves of basil. I told you I wasn't exact. And I grew a bunch of basil last year, so I have that, and it's tastes yummy. It's a really nice way to preserve herbs. I also preserve herbs in salt. And there is fresh basil about right now, just not on my property, and we didn't have it at the market last week. I also manage a farmer's market on Friday. So the next ingredient is, so I'm doing a double batch. It's usually 1-to-1, 1 8-ounce package of cream cheese and 1 8-ounce package, or just 1-to-1, honestly. But if you're going to use the other ingredients, that's it's 8 ounces. So I have a clove of garlic, and this is local garlic from Stan Crawford's farm. It's called the Bosque Farm. He's the king of garlic. He's written many books about northern New Mexico and farming. So I pre-chop a little bit. My food processor is not that great. I mean, it gets the job done, but you might end up with, when you're doing things like garlic and herbs, them a little chunkier than you want. Not that I mind a chunk of garlic, but maybe not so nice when you're having a glass of wine. Sounds like our crostini might be done. Okay, so put the garlic in there. Let's check on that crostini. Pretty good. Time for more wine. Okay. Bring this forward so you can see my food processor. Okay, I'm gonna put the cream cheese in. And I use organic ingredients whenever possible. And of course, local. Can't be farm to table and not use local foods. And we should all strive to eat as much local food as possible. I mean, for health, beauty, local economy, it's just all so important. I didn't grow nearly as much food this year. Last year during COVID, I know we're still in COVID somewhat, I couldn't run my business, of course. And so I had all my adult children and their spouses here. Oh my goodness, we grew so much food because we didn't know what was going to happen. So this year, I decided to focus on the orchard. I have peaches, pears, blackberries. That's pretty much enough to keep me busy. So I'm gonna let my guests step up. Okay, another sip of wine. My guests left. Thought it'd be kind of rude to record the back of them leaving. They're going to a local vineyard to taste wine. Okay, so I said 1 to 1, and I'm doubling the batch because I'm doing this for an event. So there's 2 8-ounce packages of cream cheese, and this is local feta from Tucumcari. And I'm careful not to put the brine in it because feta is salty enough, wonderfully yummy salty, but you don't want to overdo it. You don't ever want to overpower, especially when you're working with wine. You want things to complement each other. You can even rinse the cheese to get more of the brine off. If you do that, make sure to use cold water and then let it drain. And taste your feta. There's other varieties that aren't nearly as salty. This is cow's milk feta. I really, really love goat's milk feta. There seems to be, we've lost a couple of our goat farmers lately, which is really sad, and I would love to do it, but it's a lot of work. Okay, I'm gonna wash my hands. Enjoy the view. Okay, so we have the feta and the cream cheese, 1 to 1, and chopped garlic, and then basil, and there's already some olive oil because the basil was frozen in the olive oil. I will add some more to get the consistency that I want. Okay, I want to make noise. have another batch of crostini going. Like I said, I'm doing this for an event. So don't be alarmed if it beeps again. Okay. How well you can see it, but it's beautiful and creamy. Little specks of basil in it. Smells amazing, and it spreads really well. You can freeze it, and it lasts in the refrigerator for about 7 days if you seal it well. And the crostini, if you package them correctly, they'll last as well. I forgot to show you. There's more. So I use local honey as well. And you take the salty creaminess and you add the crunch of pistachios. So I was hoping my order would come in today. We grow pistachios in southern New Mexico. They're really yummy. I use the unsalted ones for this because, again, the feta is salty enough. I just give those a rough chop. I've tried to do it in the food processor before, and it's funny how the processor won't my herbs and garlic fine enough, but it pulverizes. Nuts. That's not what I want. So, and when it's served, it's just honey on the top, pistachios, and the final touch. And when I package it for picnics or events, I take the feta and I make a little bowl in it, and I put the local honey in that, and then I package the pistachios and cracked pepper together but separately from everything else, so they stay nice and crunchy. Okay, now we're done. So it's a creamy feta dip with local honey drizzled on top and pistachios. These are unsalted with a little bit of cracked pepper. Salty, sweet, creamy, crunchy. Heaven. So I hope you got what you needed from the video. Let me know. And this is Enchantment Yurt, and it's Enchantment Yurt on Airbnb, or Enchantment Farm to Table Experience on Airbnb. And then my website is purposefulandbeautiful.com. And you can see all the things that I do there. So enjoy. Thanks for joining me.